Welcome back, dear viewers, for the 11th installment of Twilight Abridged. The chapter starts with Bella being an attention whore and Edward hovering over her throughout biology. Then Edward touched her cheek and gave her freezer burn. And if you think that having someone you're attracted to causes any sort of a similar reaction when they touch you, you're deluding yourself. It's not like that. Then Bella went to gym, where Mike was on her team. During their conversation, he said, and I quote, he, meaning Edward, looks at you like you're something to eat. Ha 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 ha. Edward met her immediately after gym and told her that he didn't like Mike, which, for those keeping track, would be another moment of his doing something to isolate her from others. But this wasn't what irritates Bella. It's that he was watching her during gym. And he gets her to forgive him by promising that she can drive on the Saturday trip, which, from earlier, we all know that was something that she wanted anyway. So, yeah, fans, you can't argue that he's not controlling her here. It's kind of obvious. They talk a little bit about his hunting and how it would be bad for her to be there. Then, as she goes inside her house, he informs her that he gets to ask questions. Charlie asks her about her plans for the Seattle trip and the dance, and she momentarily shows some slight concern for him, but shrugs it off, because her concern for others pales in comparison to what she wants. Because, no, she's not self-sacrificing. At all. Edward picked her up for school, having completely decided to ignore all he'd said before about being dangerous for her, and he avoids answering her when she asks what he did last night. Then he asks her what her favorite color was and what music she liked. Turns out that by some random chance, also known as a plot device, even though there's not a plot here, he had the same exact CD that Phil had given her. You know, the one she'd memorized overnight and hasn't been mentioned since and wasn't mentioned before. Chances are it won't be mentioned after this point either. Ever. Time went on and he asked her a bunch of filler questions about her likes and dislikes, which is Meyer's half-assed attempt at character development, and fails because no actual answers are provided in the text. And this thereby illustrates how flat Bella is, because it lets readers insert themselves instead of her, since she doesn't have a personality for them to override, and lets them imagine while reading that some extremely hot guy actually has interest in them. When he asks her what her favorite gemstone is, she says topaz, saying that it's because it's the color of his eyes that day. The problem with this is that Bella was too moronic to realize that topaz is not a color. It isn't. Edward left immediately before Jacob and Billy appeared, having detected their approach, and Charlie rounded the corner on his way home. Bella noticed that Billy knew that the legend Jacob had told her, but manages to forget the part of it that impacted Jacob's family. This could potentially be the start of a plot, if it weren't for the fact that nothing of the legend actually comes into play until New Moon, which hadn't even been thought of until after Twilight was published. And that's that. Thank you for joining me for another installment of Twilight Abridged, brought to you by the good people at TwilightSucks.com. Twilight sucks because the only hint of a plot is, and we're halfway through the book, has only been an illusion.